I'm Chaz Kalenda, and I'm running to be the next Rhode Island Attorney General. I practiced law for the last 16 years, 12 of them in the office of the Attorney General, so I have the knowledge and experience to do that job at a high level. I'm not here to fight for a political agenda. I'm not here to fight for a special interest. I'm here to fight for the rights of every Rhode Islander, no matter where you come from or no matter what your background is. I'll need your votes on September 13th for the primary election and November 8th for the general election. If you have any questions about where to vote or how to vote, please contact your local Board of Canvassers or the Secretary of State's office or website. I'm not running to be just another politician. I'm running to be a public servant who can serve as a much-needed check and balance on the state of Rhode Island to root out the corruption both inside and outside of our system. We need your support. You can visit my website at chas4ag.com to learn more about me, donate, or volunteer your time. I'm Chaz Kalenda, and I approve this message.
To take home the Golden Gloves, you've got to put in the work, and you've got to be tough as nails. Ashley Kalis was driven to achieve. Today, Kalis is still fueled by that same hope, grit, and determination. A mother of 3 school-aged boys and successful business owner who ran testing and vaccination sites across the state. Kalis is the fighter Rhode Island needs right now because it's time for a change. Ashley Kalis for governor.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Eyes on Pawtucket. We're with the Coalition Radio and our favorite host, Pat Ford. We got Lynn Turnelli in the house. And we'd like to invite you guys to check us out. We're on YouTube, and make sure that you check out some of the local sponsors, which you would have seen playing before we came on the air. And don't forget to thank Pat Ford for all that he's been doing all over the state. I know that we haven't been on for a little bit now. So for those of you who end up watching us after we're live, welcome on. And we're here for you guys to give you some updates on what's been going on with our favorite city, Pawtucket. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, although I already kind of did. But go ahead, guys. What's up?
Lynn, why don't you go?
Oh, it's been a minute and a few seconds. I'm glad to be here tonight. I know that we have a lot of things to discuss. I know that tonight will be more of a short reintroduction to the show so that we can get some things out there and let you know what we're going to be talking about. Excited to be here. How about you, Pat?
I'm thrilled. It's been a crazy couple of months. For the last 2 or 3 months, you've got 2 competing dialogues from, if you will, my side of the round table here. You've got Officer Dolan, who, since we last spoke, has been involved in a couple of hijinks, and I'm being facetious. His court case actually is on the horizon. It's the final trial, if you will, is in just a few weeks. I want to point out, I covered, incredibly enough, it was an offer by the state for just a 5-year sentence for essentially attempting to kill a young man. That, by the way, is on video, and by the way, is, I don't know, words failed me on that one. I have a video of me chasing the Attorney General's prosecutor out the door because the clear fact is I'm not sure if a young man of color would have been given the same opportunity to take that 5-year sentence on what potentially could be, in the extreme, a sentence of more than 40 years. Incredibly enough, Officer Dolan turned it down. And then we get to, and we'll talk about in a little while, the continuing soap opera, AKA Tidewater Landing, AKA $10 million, from that's supposedly going to bridge the gulf in this desperate inflationary spiral that has taken away our boy Don's, little dream. And, we'll get into that. tomorrow night is how can I put it? Tomorrow night is what may be the final countdown. Tomorrow night is the town council meeting. Folks like myself will be given a whopping 3 minutes to talk, and we'll see where the chips fall. That's where I've been focusing on. I know folks have a lot more irons in the fire, a lot more going on in terms of criminal justice situation, ongoing issues with the Pawtucket Police Department. I'm exhausted by what I cover. I can't even keep up with you guys. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm
There's been
coming
a lot
from.
going on. As a matter of fact, just this morning, I was a little bit disturbed because we had an incident in Fairlawn where there was, I guess, a fugitive on the loose, armed or whatever, and no press conference, no police, no public safety director letting everybody know or alerting the neighborhood. Lynn lives in that area, and she didn't even know until it showed up on Facebook, which is a little disturbing. But it just goes to show a lot of the things that's going on right now with Pawtucket operation of this administration is all about them, and then they wonder why a lot of us in the community who notice some of these things are so loud about it, because some of the stuff that happens in the city is so disturbing that you can't help but say it. Because my only wish is that everyone who votes in this city starts to pay closer attention. People who live in Pawtucket tend to like being here because of its diversity, right? Everyone gets along, children in schools learn about each other's cultures and stuff. And I think this election coming up is going to be very important, especially because of all this Tidewater stuff going on. That people have to be aware of what that means for the rest of the city. It only means gold to Donald Grevy, the
Right,
mayor. And it
right.
doesn't mean that much to anybody else in the city. I don't understand how people are just falling for this. And like you said, yes, there will be a city council meeting tomorrow. And don't be surprised if the president of the council already has his mind made up and doesn't allow people to speak on it like he's had done before with the Poor Sox. Doesn't want to hear it. It's almost like they have these backdoor talks and they already have got their mind made up. Um, my main point to the community right now, and anyone of every background, of every culture in the city, needs to pay attention. We need to have a mayor that is more into diversity of the city and respects it. Not only acknowledges it, but has to respect it. And the city has to start to reflect all of us. Just like the Pawtucket, the Poor Sox. You were there maybe all of the hearings. So was Lynn. A lot of people who didn't pay attention to any of that and didn't go to the hearings wouldn't have heard what I had said. I'm going to continue to say it. We should not have anything in this city where taxpayers are going to have to fund it if we can't use it. If we can't use it the way that we want to use it, we shouldn't be funding it. I was under the impression that we'd be able to use this one more, right? The Tidewater, but apparently, from what I'm starting to hear now, things are changing where it's going to be so privately owned that we won't be able to get any use out of it. So I'm not understanding why anybody thinks, as a taxpayer, why do you want to fund something and not look into where this money is coming from? They're asking for another $10 million. I want to know where that's coming from. I've asked several council members where that money's coming from. What budget is being cut for that money? And no one seems to know the answer. I'm hoping tomorrow that could be discussed, which they probably won't say anything. But
I've asked the governor on a number of occasions where it's coming from. I think you guys have seen the videos. I get the circular firing squad / logic / no one will just simply say. And again, I sent an inquiry by email to the entire town council. Only 2 town council people were kind enough to respond to me, which is grotesque. Which is, I don't, when you work in the media, you're not supposed to do public comment. But I'm going to say tomorrow night, as part of my public comment, that these folks have refused any comment, any specifics whatsoever on the actual plan. And that's near criminal. I think it was you folks filled me in. What was it, a year or so ago, a year or two ago, there where they actually had to borrow money from the school budget surplus in order to keep.
$1.3 million the city borrowed or took from the school budget, thanks to Jay Chavana, the school committee president. He agreed to it, and obviously he stepped down not too long afterwards. Not sure why, uh, but yeah. So if we're borrowing from the school committee for just to help the city run, I mean, now we need $10 million. So where's that coming from? If we didn't have $1.3 million to run the city, you had to borrow off the school. Um, Now where do you think 10 million is coming from? I mean, unless there's a secret stash that we don't know about. The tower was supposed to be fixed at 5.2. We voted that in. I'm not sure if that money came in. Maybe they put it aside for something like this. We don't know because we never get any closure to anything that has been discussed before or approved. We just approve it and then the money just disappears.
How's
So
how's that?
we don't get any type of explanation either. So, and when you mentioned the city council public input, I've questioned as to why that is even necessary anymore. They don't listen to what we have to say. They don't respond to what we have to say, nor do they put any of it on the next agenda to be discussed. So we can go there and ask questions and pour our hearts out about what we think about what's going on in the city and what needs to be done, but we'll never get an answer, just a stare. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Lynn. Sorry.
No, that's okay. A couple of points there. I'm sure back when, McCoy Stadium was built, everybody was thinking, wow, big stadium. It's going to, there's going to be so much development around there. Take a ride by McCoy Stadium. What kind of development do we really have? There's nothing. There is a big stadium now that's empty. Um, the other the other point I wanted to make was we've been waiting for a fire station in Woodlawn. I'm hearing so much about Tidewater and people making money while we have our citizens, our taxpayers, risk, at risk in Woodlawn because we don't have a fire station. And this all goes back, and I'm just going to go back to Pat's point in the beginning about Dolan. I warned them about Dolan. Now, take it how you want. The police can be all butthurt because I was talking about Dolan, but wouldn't that man be better off today had Tina taken some action back then and taken him aside and see, to look to see does he need some help? Internal Affairs ignored it. Mayor Grebian ignored it. The council ignored it. I mean, I can list, numerous people that ignored the problem. And when we ignore the problem, this is what we have. We have a police officer out of control and going and shooting an innocent kid. So, but this seems to be the norm of this administration. They ignore, and then something balloons, and all of a sudden it's, well, where are we going to get the money from? Well, they've been taking money from different budgets for a long time now, and Don Grebian can say all day long that he inherited problems, but we have to remember he was on the council previous to becoming mayor. So, he voted for these things, these inherited problems. He was he was right there. He saw it right in front of his eyes. Why didn't he do anything when he was on the council? He's doing as much now as the mayor as he did on the council. And all these inherited problems are going to be the problems of the next mayor. And I hope that September actually brings us a new mayor.
And let me just add to that real quick. Not only are the voices of the community leaders ignored here in the city, what's very disturbing is that as a minority female community leader in the city, I'll say that I've heard so many people of every different background, of every different culture, of every different color say, hey, if you guys want a voice in the city, why doesn't somebody run? Why don't you get a minority to run? Why don't you get a Cape Verdean to run? So we do. We now have two Cape Verdeans sitting on the council. And guess what? They're just as ignored as we are. And that is disturbing Because the more we try to help the city open its eyes up to the real problems of the real community, the more pushback we get, especially from this administration. Um, this city is majority minorities. So what's going to happen when all the minorities are paying for another project that the mayor wants, yet we don't have access to it? Our children are not getting, you know, access to go in and watch games or participate in different things that are happening. It's just very disturbing to watch, you know. I'm bringing this up only because I've made such a big deal about it. Um, Overseas too with the Cape Verdean government, is that when Cape Verdean delegates come to the city, the mayor refuses to have the two Cape Verdean councilmen at the table. That is the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard of. And you know what bothers me the most? The Cape Verdean taxpayers and voters in this city, who are the minority, the majority of the minority, they're not even paying attention to that. Some of them don't even know we have councilmen that are Cape Verdean, and that's sad. We have two. One is Melissa DeRosa, councilwoman at large, and the other one is Clovis Gregor, who is the councilman for the Main Street area, which is District 6. And I say Main Street area because that's how Cape Verdeans understand it, for the most part. But District 6, where we had a groundbreaking for the brand new fire station, but all of a sudden that just went silent. It's another photo op for the mayor. I don't like how they pose with him. I don't like how they allow him to show up at events and pose with minority children. But then we're getting the crumbs from the city. And we're just supposed to sit back and just, you know, keep on voting the same people in. No, I want people to wake up, wake up. We need a more diverse mayor, a mayor who respects diversity. The city is so diverse, probably the most diverse city in the state of Rhode Island is Pawtucket. And when it comes to it, it's not majority Hispanic like the surrounding areas, Central Falls and Providence. It's majority Cape Verdean. And if we don't start recognizing that and fighting for our rights to have our voices heard, it's not going to be very nice. And what I'm asking people is to realize we do have a very solid candidate this time. We haven't in the past, but this time, September 13th, we have a solid candidate that can take the city into the right direction. His name is Charlie Constantino Stratus. I've known the guy for so long. He actually helped Don Grebian win his seat. So if he helped Don Grebian win his seat, you know he can help take him back out. And that's what we need. We need people to recognize that people who like the Tidewater idea and the new stadium idea, that's great. You know, it just has to happen properly, not under the same administration. It can happen under a new administration, and it probably better for everyone. But it's up to us to put the right person in that seat to make the right decisions for us.
The biggest issue we're facing right now with this, in general, in addition to the inappropriateness of Pawtucket City taxpayer funding what is essentially a private investment, is the separation of the stadium from the mixed-use development that was supposed to be the primary economic engine that was going to drive, allegedly, economic growth. Now, that's a big allegedly, but let's just put that on the back burner and discuss the separation. Now, the state funding has been moved up to get the stadium built, the stadium that will see maybe, 10, 15 soccer matches a year, all sorts of promises about the other one. And in the absence of that mixed-use development, the shopping and the affordable housing that they won't tell us what the rents are going to be, all of that, you've got a standalone soccer stadium. It's how can I put this? The current Commerce Board, and I've been to every board meeting for the last 4 or 5 months, just about every single one, and I'm going to continue to go. And they're real barn burners, let me tell you. Pretty exciting stuff going on there. But the current board, as of a few months ago, was largely Gina Raimondo appointees. And while I was never a big fan of Gina Raimondo, when I went to this board and watched some of the skill levels of the people on the board, it's pretty impressive. There's a guy named Bernie Bonanno, and he's become a little controversial lately because his sister is Helena Bonanno Folks, who's running for governor. Whatever, he's been there for a couple of years. He's a successful, and I'll say generically, investment banker. He's a big money guy who, on his own, in the private sector, in the free market, does a lot of investing at a very, very high level. Okay, and he was a gentleman who had initially voted in favor of this. So this isn't one of these, dyed-in-the-wall opponents like me. This is a guy who was on board. He voted against it at the last meeting simply because the separation of these two investments, and there's no money in the hopper for the second one, where the money was supposed to go. Simply, the numbers don't work for him as an investment. And again, here's a gentleman with a great deal of credibility. You've got this guy McNally who worked for one of the largest contracting, big-time general contractors on the planet, a company called Skanska, which most people haven't heard of, but in the world of big box projects and stadium projects and highway projects, these guys are a worldwide leader. And so he comes from a C-suite, high-level management level experience, and he brings that to the table. And he was a guy who was in favor of it early on, and then he decided that the numbers simply don't work. So this isn't just folks like me who on a philosophical level oppose taxpayer money going into these partnerships, air quotes, partnerships. These are people who are part of the Commerce Corporation, routinely approve these investments. So there's a great deal of credibility. The people who voted for it are all the recent hacks appointed by Governor McKee. And the worst case, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to see this video because there's so much going on, and that's, by the way, that's how they win, because there's so much going on. Every day is whack-a-mole in the bucket because, there's 100 different crises du jour happening, right? So this guy named Michael Solomon, a three-time, I thought too, but a three-time loser running to be mayor of Providence. Famous in some circles for having destroyed one of the best rib joints in the state, a place called Wes's Ribs over on Dyke Street, over in Oneyville. I ran into him on the walk inside to the Commerce meeting a week or so ago, whatever it was, where they approved this investment. And he admitted to me, and I stand by this, he admitted to me that he had not seen the project before. So I walk into this meeting thinking, okay, here's this guy, for whatever reason he was appointed, that he's going to step aside and not vote on this, despite, by his own words, and he denies it, but he also won't go on media to deny it, right? By his own words, had never seen this before, thought it was okay to vote on what ultimately would be something along the lines of a $500 million project. Huh?
Right.
Because what? The fix was in. The other person was the head of the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce, a lovely woman, obviously an intelligent individual, but no experience whatsoever in these type of projects, just none. And so she, without even asking a question in public sessions, she voted for it because, that's where her marching orders are. So you've got folks, literally, the lemmings are running off the cliff, and the people who are going to suffer are not going to be them. They're not going to be the business people. The people who suffer are going to be folks who live in neighborhoods, ordinary working folks in Pawtucket. And I don't know if it's exhaustion, Chris. I don't know if it's just people are just overwhelmed, between the Rona and all the nonsense that goes on in Pawtucket and just trying to make a living, right? Feed your family. I think people are exhausted by it, and they just don't have the time to understand what a complete and utter fiasco this is. But that's my take.
So I haven't been to any of the hearings for this in particular just yet. I've been a little bit busy. I have two separate questions for you, Pat, and I'm not sure if you can answer them, but I know you go into most of the hearings. One thing that I'm hearing a lot from the community, I've actually spoken to a councilwoman about both of these questions that I'm about to ask you. One is, where is the parking going? Because I don't see anything in the layouts that I've seen so far. I don't see a parking lot, and a lot of people in the community are starting to question what's going to happen to our side streets. I live nearby too, and I'm wondering. That was one of the questions. I don't know if you've heard anything where the parking lot's going to go or whatever. The second question that I've spoken to a couple of council members about. That's a little bit in the ears because I thought I heard this, and I'm not sure that Senator Sandra Cano, who also is, I guess, she runs the project that's going on here in Tidewater. Um, did she say at the hearing, which got them to kind of vote yes, that the council in Pawtucket was already on board with it and was already promising to give them the 10 million? Because I thought I heard that, and I spoke to several council members, and they said they had no idea. They didn't agree to anything before she made that statement, and that could have been a little bit concerning when it comes to you know, directing the people who already voted it through the wrong direction because she claims that the council was already on board.
She did claim the council was on board. I'd have to check to see if they'd already agreed, if she specifically said that the $10 million was all set.
They had not agreed to it. The two of the council members at least have no idea what she's talking about. And they don't even believe me that she said it.
Yeah, no, I've listened to video. I have the videotape up there. I tape these entire meetings so that people can go back on the record and do so. So I think what I'm going to try and do tonight is put together a quick playlist. Again, the problem is the bums rush is on, and they're hell bent to pass it. And I think the only real hope that I have this is stopped is that there was a wonderful piece done by WPRI today about pointing out in very clear terms how the taxes that are coming in from this are not going to support the investment. I think if they look into their hearts, and again, they've zoned me out. I might as well be as Charlie Brown's parents, right? Wah, 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 wah. Right. They're not interested in listening to anything from me because, I'd like to think that I'm using cool logic with them and facts. They're not interested in that. They've tried to exclude me from press conferences and things like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because
but going back to the other question though, did you hear anything about where the parking lot was going to be, if there was going to be one? Because that's a very big concern of the people in this area.
Well, they should be. And I have the zoning planning board meeting from last year that I was at that I kind of hijacked. Because there's this concept that, and I don't know, it's going to, again, lots of vague. I finally got the package late this afternoon that was presented to the board, a week and a half ago that they've sat on. And my understanding is you're looking at some facility literally blocks away. And maybe they'll have temporary use of land that they were going to put the mixed-use development on, but it's there because there were two issues with that. Number one, how much neighborhood traffic you're going to get, and number two, there's this notion that people tromping through the neighborhoods, all right, are going to, I don't know, spend money elsewhere in the community. And when you look at how physically far it is away from downtown Pawtucket, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's right now there's no planned, and there's no what they call ancillary development. Lynn, as you pointed out early in our little conversation tonight, there's as much development on the books, as the totality of what was put up next to McCoy, which is to say none.
Right.
So on every level, this is a bloody fiasco. Just a bloody fiasco. And I weep for Pawtucket because, quite frankly, the people of the city deserve better, and they just do.
Absolutely.
It's a great town. It's a toddling town. It's a funky town. There's a lot of great stuff going on, and people manage to carve out a living, with help from people like the Elisha Project and different organizations in town, often despite the best efforts of the people who run this town. And I will tell you, a subject for another show, another time, the corollaries between Woonsocket and Pawtucket are stunning. An out of control, arrogant mayor with no connection to economic reality whatsoever. City councils that are not accountable really to anybody. And the net result is in cities like Pawtucket and Woonsocket. And Woon's a great, I've spent a lot of time in Woonsocket. I spent a lot of time on the streets in Pawtucket with people. You guys know I haunt the hoods. I just, I mean, because I love
Sometimes
the.
they think we do that, but I think you're right there with us.
No, and listen, you guys are connected at a level to the community that I could never hope to get, and I hope you guys know I'm profoundly grateful for that extra connection, that extra little juice, that extra little charge that you're able to give me. That, quite frankly, I could never get on my own because, I mean, let's be blunt. I mean, we talk some pretty broad truths here in the show. All right, I'm a white guy from the burbs who looks kind of like Peter Griffin meets Charlie Brown, and if I'm not getting introduced by you folks, most people are looking at me like, excuse my language, but who the is this guy? I mean, I gotta earn my keep, and so it's if it wasn't so tragic and there weren't so many lives and talents and children and futures diminished by all this crap, it would be funny, but it's not because of all of that.
Right. And I'm gonna go back to what Lynn had pointed out. About the fire station. So Lynn, they had the huge groundbreaking, right? And they had the councilman over there, and they had the shovels and everything. So have you heard anything? What do we know about that? Was that just a photo op, Lynn, or what's going on with that?
Well, I haven't heard anything about it. And, before we go on to that, and I do want to get back to that, but, we talk about photo ops. You don't see Don Grabian really out on the streets until it's election time, right? So the other day he was out and he was giving out lemonades to the kids, like the kids down at vet school who were getting cooled off in the pool. And, you know, he was he was out there, doing his good deed of, because it was so hot, he was giving lemonade to the children. And
Well, did we lose Lynn?
We might have. I don't think she went on mute.
Yeah, she has a little scratchy mic. Let me jump in for a second here, while we wait to try and get Lynn back on the air.
really genuinely felt that way.
Lynn, we lost
We
you for.
lost you for a few minutes, Lynn.
Why don't you
Sorry.
no worries, restart.
If Don Grabian really cared about people staying cool and safe, he wouldn't have been out giving lemonades to the children that were keeping cool and safe. He would have been on our streets, finding our homeless and giving them cold bottles of water. He doesn't care about our community. And, Christine and I see it all, and we know where our community is at. And our community is not going to be able to afford the prices that they're going to have to charge in order to use that stadium. And that's, I guess, where I look at like the reality of it is we're going to be used for the betterment of this group, and our community is not going to reap any kind of a benefit from it.
Right.
I was about to point out, I was actually at the fire department groundbreaking, much to the delight of the mayor. And what did we lose? What did we lose?
Good.
Keyshawn, you're there?
Yep, we're here. We're good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, we're all back. Technical difficulties, folks. So I was there at the groundbreaking, and I filmed it as usual, and it's up there on the web. So if anyone's interested, let me know. I'll reshare all these videos. At the time, I got to meet the gentleman from the general contractor who was doing the work, and at that I asked him if he would send me a work schedule. Not trying to hold him exactly to it, but just to get a rough feel for it. And he kind of nodded my direction and then continued his conversation with somebody else. I emailed it a couple of times and left phone messages, and just completely ignored. Completely ignored. To a point that it was insulting. So I sent out the mother of all operas, to our boy Frank there. And I'm actually trying to pull it up right now so I can really give you a sense, you know, a real sense of what's going on. My APRA request, because they just simply wouldn't do it the easy way. Just send me the schedule at some point. All right.
So while you're looking for that APRA,
Well, I pulled up the APRA,
oh,
and
did you? Okay.
yeah. So amongst other things, I asked for documents including but not limited to the scope of design that led to the formalization of the original request for proposal sent to organizations. Copies of all bid, RFP advertisements with documentation as to date and method of formal notification advertising. A list of companies that were sent the RFP as described above. The submissions in their entirety of firms responding to the RFP bid request. All written communications and notes on verbal communications that occurred between responding companies and the mayor, city council, and employees of the city of Pawtucket. All written communication and notes on verbal communications post bid submission regarding the bid submitted. All written communication notes on verbal communications regarding the groundbreaking ceremony held at Fire District 1. The construction schedule set for the project from DM Frey. That'll keep them busy, right?
Nice. Yeah, you know what I thought was interesting? Since you said you were down there filming it, Pat, and you used the word insulting, which I've used several times in the last few weeks, okay? Going back again to the same thing that I was talking about earlier. It was very insulting when I watched the video. I'm pretty sure it was your video of the mayor inviting several council members there, but he wasn't too fond to have the council member, the Cape Verdean council member of that district at the event, to the point where he allowed Councilman Arujo, I believe that was there, on the podium to speak right along with him. But he did not allow the councilman of that district, Clovis Gregor, to take the podium. I don't understand why. Does he think people are not going to watch this and pick up on the racial divide that he creates in the city? It's things like that that I pay very close attention to, that I wish most people would. And when they don't, I wish most people would pay attention to what I'm saying. It's very insulting for you to have a council member that's been pushing for this fire station to be open since he's been there, and it hasn't been very long, but he's been pushing for that. And all of a sudden they have, I don't even know if he was invited or not, if he just showed up, but yeah, for him to be there and not be acknowledged dearly by the mayor, because the mayor just wants to take credit for everything.
Right.
The problem is that people don't understand. People need to stop voting properly. You don't vote for the guy who's only showing up for pictures. Obviously, the mayor showed up, held a shovel, took a picture, made you think he's fixing the station, because September 15th, he needs your vote. And if you're going to fall for that and vote for him because he said the fire station is going to be fixed, let me remind everyone, he has said it's going to be fixed several times. As a matter of fact, how about we remember that he is the idiot who shut it down in the first place? Why are we now paying attention to him pretending that he's going to open it and fix it back up? He shut it down. He's had it closed all this time. How about we vote properly and pay attention to details instead of focusing on these pictures and him posing and smiling, posing with minorities and smiling? I'm over it. And everyone else in the city should be over it. And if you are really over it, and you want someone who's actually going to fight for the right things and probably get that fire station open for real, we need to stop paying attention to the very solid candidate. I'll continue to say that, Charlie Constantino Stratus. Charlie Stratus, he's been in the community. Everyone knows him. His family, operates out of the second house of pizza on Division Street. Everybody knows him. If you guys want a lawn sign, inbox me, inbox him, Charlie Constantino Stratus from Mayor. He's on Facebook. I'm plugging him, and everyone else should be too, because we need someone like Charlie from the community in that city hall to make sure that every voice gets heard, no matter what color, no matter what background, no matter what culture. This is the most diverse city in the state. And if anybody does not appreciate that or respect that, then you probably shouldn't be here. I'm going to continue to say I'm not one to say, leave and all the stuff that happens and people are so rude. I'm not saying that, but people move here, people stay here because of the diversity. And if you really do appreciate and respect that, we need a mayor that's going to reflect that. And right now, that's not being reflected. It's an insult, and it's embarrassing, and it's disgusting to watch the racial divide happening in the city. I'm going to continue to say it. Everybody knows it's for real. There's a lot of people that don't like when I say that, but don't like it because the truth is so ugly that it kind of scares people. You know what I mean? So again, if you guys want more information about Charlie, as a matter of fact, me and Lynn have talked about this. We might invite Charlie on the show for the next session, so people will get to know him and get to ask questions live.
That sounds wonderful. Let's do it. Let's give him the oxygen he needs. We know that the area newspapers aren't going to do it. The media
Right.
that is Pawtucket based. Well, the media barely exists. I mean, it's you've got a out of town newspaper that pretends to cover Pawtucket, but is really
Right.
nothing more than a press release machine for the administration, and then that's it.
Exactly.
There's nothing else going on. So I'm not sure what to say to people anymore. Tomorrow night's a big night. If we're going to play this in the morning, if people can show up to the meeting, engage in some smart public discourse, maybe there's a chance this gets reversed and we start moving Pawtucket into a new generation, new mayor. It's time for a change. I mean, no one, quite frankly, regardless of performance, no one should be mayor or in public office for this kind of time that he's been, and certain council members. There's no one person is that valuable. You need fresh blood. You need fresh energy. This is a city, as you pointed out, that's minority majority. Folks in different communities start to need to be heard, and
Yeah.
it's just simply not happening. And the few people that come from that community that actually work in the administration, I'll say it, are largely sellouts. And Sandra Cano, she can point to an ethics commission ruling that says it's appropriate for her to be a commerce director for the town and also serve in the state senate. Well, newsflash, for the record, this might surprise you, but I actually served on the committee that reinstituted, if you will, procedures for the ethics committee and in how they should be behaving and handling issues like this. And I will tell you, so I actually served on the committee. I was part of the group, the working group. There was about 25 or 30 of us, as I remember, who reinstituted ethics laws in the state of Rhode Island. And this was not the spirit. I mean, there's absolutely no reason, with the talent levels that are out there, there are people, to be blunt, and I'm referring specifically to some of the statements she made at the last Commerce Corporation, the statements she made in terms of how tax incentive financing districts work. She, quite frankly, does not have the competence professionally to do this job. And there are lots of other people who you can hire for that salary who will come in with outside real world experience, who are not, essentially appointed hacks for an administration, who will bring real skill sets. And quite frankly, what the city of Pawtucket needs is fresh blood on that level. They need folks who are going to bring success and experience from other communities, as opposed to being a walking billboard for the mayor. And it's appalling that she is engaged in the type of behavior that she has. It's embarrassing to listen to her at meetings. And, this isn't, for the sake of anyone listening, that guy Pat Ford's a bully. This isn't anything I haven't said in a polite tone of voice directly to her. All right? And I will continue to say it directly to her every time I see it, because she is devastating the city of Pawtucket. There are lost opportunities every day because of, quite frankly, her incompetence. Needs to be said.
Has that been addressed with the ethics?
Yeah, no, the ethics board gave it the stamp. I mean, that's how it works in this state. And regardless of whether or not it's okay to do it, just because something might be technically okay, doesn't mean you should. And the city, the late great Vincent A. Buddy Cianci had a saying that the city would engage, Providence would engage in an intergalactic search, which meant they didn't do any searching. They went as far as, let's be blunt, the city of Providence, the economic development director is Keith Stokes, who is a solid historian, got a lot of talents. He's also the individual who brought you 38 studios. And so literally, because God forbid that there mustn't be anybody else on the planet who is willing to take a big paycheck to do economic development, we had to retread his tired ass. All right. And again, it's a competency issue. It's nothing personal. He simply does not have the skills to do the job. Sandra Cano is probably a wonderful mom, a nice person to her friends, does not have the skill sets necessary to do the job. There are competent people out there who will take that job and run with it and do great things for the city.
And the word on the word on the political parkway is that she is being prepped to run for the mayor of the city. This is where I ask people, pay closer attention when voting. Pay attention before, pay attention afterwards. If indeed she's being prepped to run for mayor, maybe the next election or whatever it is, you can already see she will lie to get her way and help the mayor get the stadium in here so that she can inherit the props of doing so. I don't have any respect. Like you said, Pat, I'm going to agree with you 100%. She's a great person. She's a great mom. She's probably a great friend. She's probably a great daughter, everything else. But when it comes to this, especially the mistake she made with the poor sock stuff, there was conflict of interest there. Now we're seeing it once again. When you're a great person, but you get into politics and you stop playing politics and you become a politician, two different things. I have respect for her as a person, but when it comes to politics, you're already trying to fool people. I do not respect the fact that she would go in front of the Commerce Committee or whatever it was and lie, suggesting that they already have the approval of the council, unless there's a backdoor deal already been done with President Moran, which I can see happening because usually he just pushes things through and fools the new people that they're supposed to vote a certain way. That's why we need to get rid of this administration. We need to clean house. Even the council. Let the new people learn the right way of doing things instead of being taught the wrong way of doing things, the sneaky way of doing things, and allowing Sandra Cano to sit there and speak on their behalf in order to get a vote to sway, on a state level. That is disturbing. Like I said, I've asked several council members, and they never made a promise. They don't remember hearing anything about it. So for her to speak on their behalf, shame on her. Shame on her, because she wouldn't have allowed it to happen while she was city council at large. She wouldn't have allowed anyone to speak for her. So why is she doing that now that she's not on the council anymore? It's very disturbing. But again, when it comes to voting and politics in the city, it's very special. Pawtucket politics is special. Let me use that word. It's sneaky. It's dirty. There's nothing clean about it. Everyone's always doing something shady, and it's time for us to clean it up. And it's the funny thing is, me and Lynn were having a conversation earlier, and she made me laugh because I'll let her tell you, Lynn, what you said about we don't have to worry about the police union voting. What was that?
Oh, we don't have to worry about the police. They have their opinion about, whether they want to keep Don Grebian or move on to Charlie Stratus. We don't have to worry about it because none of them live in Pawtucket and can vote. So we might as well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what opinion the police have of, our police chief doesn't even live in Pawtucket, which, you don't see her in Pawtucket anyway because she's the invisible chief. But, you know, you, so I don't think that it matters whether they like Don or don't like Don because they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to vote for Don.
I thought that was cute. Most people want the police support or the fire department support. In Pawtucket, I'm telling you, it's so particular, Pat. Pawtucket is so backwards. It's so upside down. It's like a circus here. The fact that the police opinion on who should win doesn't matter. Like Lynn said, the majority of them don't live here anyways. We don't care what they think, so we don't care about pissing them off or not. It doesn't matter. Just like they come here, they make their money, they go back home, and they don't care how they treated us. They just go back home, and like I tell them all the time, you don't like working in a diverse city, go and apply in your own neighborhood. Go work with your own neighbors. I bet they wouldn't treat them half as bad as they treat some of the people here. But that's okay. That's okay because when this administration is brought to its knees and it changes over, eventually that's going to happen. A lot of people will probably be in cuffs because so much things will be found out,
I,
and I'll make sure of it.
excellent.
So I mean, it is what it is. It's taking a little bit longer. Come on, my message to the voters out there. Anybody listen? He's had 12 years. What has he done? I'm not impressed. I don't think I've never spoken to anybody in the last 12 years, although I helped him get in. I helped him gain that seat. And I did so much work in Providence for so long that I wasn't really paying attention to Pawtucket. And it wasn't until 3 to 4 years after he was already in office that I decided to focus more in Pawtucket. And when I did, I realized, wow, I helped the wrong candidate. Now, how do we undo it? So 12 years, I don't have to convince anybody. Anybody should know by now. 12 years is a long time. And like Lynn said earlier, he didn't just inherit the city, he was on the council. He inherited his own damn mess. He created the mess and he took it over. So he should know how to fix it or undo it or whatever it is. I don't have no sympathy for the man. And if he couldn't do nothing in the last 12 years that we can at least say we're proud of, sorry. He needs to go. Like you said, we need new blood. Charlie's new blood. His administration, I know 110% will turn this city into what we need to be more prouder of it.
Excellent. So, is this, you folks think this is a good time to break off for tonight? So that
Absolutely.
okay. Um, Chris, Lynn, take us home and also mention, about tomorrow night's council meeting, how and where they can, show up and, or should, and give a little love and, make their points
Go ahead,
known.
Lynn. I'll close it out.
Okay. So if you want to go to the council meeting, it's tomorrow night. I would suggest that you're there somewhere around 6 if you want to actually engage in public input because um, you have to sign in ahead of time. If you just want to go and show some support to Pat, and I don't know if Christine's going to be going down tomorrow night, but go down and show the council that you're going to be asking questions, and if they're going to be making any kind of decisions, you want to make sure that they have the paperwork in hand and can answer all the questions that you might have as to where the funding's coming from and what the long-term effects are going to be with putting the stadium up without the housing, or what the long-term effects will actually be just in the stadium deal itself. The other thing, welcome back, and I know that we have a lot of things that we have discussed that we want to bring to the table. And please contact us if you have any concerns or issues. If you need to submit an APRA, which is an access to public records, um, if you need some public records, if you um, have a complaint against a police officer and you need to contact IA, Internal Affairs, if you need help with filling something like that out, contact us. We're here. We're available. Inbox us on Facebook or contact us on the Eyes on Pawtucket page or contact Pat. And welcome back, everyone. And I'm hoping that we have a really good time, exposing some of the things that really need to be exposed in this city.
Excellent.
and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's meeting. I might be there. A lot of things that I've discussed here. I know that the council watches. I know that they all watch your show, Pat. Some of them watch it over and over again, from what I heard. So I think they're already aware of what the concerns are. Like I said, I used to go down and do public input all the time, but I feel like it's a waste of my time, and it's more of an annoyance because you'll speak to people that look like robots. They're just staring at you. They don't interact. Which, Pat, I'm gonna tell you something funny that happened a few weeks ago. Was that I noticed at some a mother and a daughter went up to go do public input, and guess what? In all the years that I've been going to the council, I thought the rules have changed, Pat. When I ever saw the council vice president sit there and answer back to the person doing public input. He was answering them, asking questions, and I couldn't wait to go up, right? I thought the rules have changed. So as soon as I get up, I'm like, now you guys can answer our questions. That's great. And he says, no, he was just engaging with them because he wanted to explain. So they can engage, they choose not to engage. I want everyone to understand how important voting is. Your vote does matter, but it also matters when you don't do your research and you keep on voting the same clowns into this circus of a city hall. Stop doing it. If you're not sure, ask, find out, watch this show. I mean, inbox me. Watch what I'm saying. I don't know how else to tell people, but when you have council members sitting on the council, you would expect that they want to hear what we're saying, because most of them don't get out into the community to meet the communities in which they serve. None of them. They don't come out. They only come out for photo ops when the mayor invites them. Pay attention to that stuff, guys. If they don't know what's going on in your community, then they shouldn't be sitting on the council ignoring those of us who are going there to do public input. If public input is not serving a purpose, I would much rather them just get rid of it, because they're not listening to anything that's being said. They're not processing it. And when you ask them to put something on the agenda so that you can get an answer to your question the following week, no, it just disappears. It gets completely dismissed. I'm not sure what public input is about. They need to change the rules or just get rid of it.
I hear you. Lynn, why don't you take us home for the night?
Oh, I think you should, Pat.
All right. You've been listening to Eyes on Pawtucket, the only media that matters in the bucket. Right now, at this point, when it comes to city council, I want to say fuck it, but what the hell? We'll give it a try tomorrow anyway. We'll dive right into the muck.
Absolutely. Guys, don't forget to check out the Coalition Radio on YouTube. You have to like, subscribe, share this information, because I think that all the voters deserve to hear some of the things that are being said. We bring it to you raw. We tell you like it is. We're not sugarcoating anything. If you want to sit there and believe what all the other ones, the candidates are saying, or some of the ones that are holding office are saying, some of these officials are bullshitting you. Okay, so stop falling for it. Go for what you see. We got our eyes on Pawtucket, so we speak with facts and continue to show love and support to Pat Ford. My boy's all over the place. He's all over the state, bringing you information. If you guys are not from Pawtucket and you're just, you're interested in what's going on in your city, hey, tap into him on YouTube, Coalition Radio on Facebook. He's all over the place. If you have something that you're concerned about, I know I'm plugging you here, Pat. I know you're busy as it is already, but hit them up, send them an inbox, let them know what's going on in your city.
Drop me a
And if
dime.
it's something that's from Pawtucket, hit us up, because we'll definitely pay attention to it. Once again, you're watching Eyes on Pawtucket, Coalition Radio. We want to say special shout out to our producer, Kayshawn, always doing excellent work. And to all of our loyal watchers and listeners that'll probably watch this afterwards, leave your comments down below or inbox us with whatever your concern is or questions are. And we look forward to having Charlie probably on the next show so that you guys can send your questions in before he comes on. That way we can have him very well prepared to give you the answer that you're waiting for. So stay safe, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Don't forget to check out the sponsors for the Coalition Radio. And if you want to donate, please hit up Pat Ford, because a lot of the things that he does requires some gas money and food money. And, so definitely donate. If it's anything that I can ask for, I know that usually we do the back to school thing. We're gonna try to kick that up this year, but I'm asking everyone around this time. Election season's coming up. Pat Ford's bringing you the information that you need. He's also allowing us to bring you the information that you need. So donate, donate, donate. Have a good night, everybody.